All right. Today's going to be a bit more of a rambling, but if you enjoy that, stick around, and if not, the update is I've done a bit more work on that animation background piece, which I'm pretty happy with. I think I've done some decent work with it so far. So that's about all the update. Lots of stuff has been happening. It's been a very eventful week. So I I I lost I missed one day out of my thing. A 2% failure rate's a bit less than a 2% failure rate ain't so bad. At least on the update schedule, I think I'm okay with with accepting that for now. Especially cuz that percentage has been decreasing so far. So, but sorry, I'm a little taken aback. I just finished a book, Flowers for Algernon, and it was good. It was a really good book. It's one of those books that I talked about this in a previous video. It's one of those books that would not fly at all for for the modern audience. I don't know if modern audience is a proper term, but it's more like it wouldn't fly in modern schools. Probably because they use the word retard very often. They use it as a medical diagnosis rather than a slur for the most part, but because they say it so much, it would probably just not fly at all in schools because schools are pretty protective when it comes to language around there. It's like, oh well, there's probably some benefits and drawbacks and whatnot. I'm personally not a big fan of of taking out words such as that, but it's mainly because it's hard to tell what the repercussions of blocking language can do, because it can have a lot of trickle down effects that are really hard to see. And it's pretty much impossible to tell if the trickle down effects are gonna balance out where the benefits of changing up terminology that's allowed to be used is is worth the drawbacks. Yeah, again, rambling video. I literally just finished it. I heard it referenced in a Sword Art Online abridged video. So they it's lots of internet lore going back into this one. I used to consume so much content. I like the first however long, like a huge chunk. I used to for context, I used to finish an anime series a day. So I would just go through 12 episode anime series cuz it's about 3 hours, and I used to just pound those. They would just gone. So, and if it wasn't a series, it was easily a season. I would just go through them. It takes around 3, so if it's 12 hours and it's 12 episodes and one, it'd take about 4 hours, I think, if I'm doing the math right. Cuz it's 3 episodes per hour and there's 12 hours, so 3 times 4 is 12. So yeah. So it'd be about 4 hours. So you get home from school, you do the bare minimum schoolwork necessary, and then you pound an anime episode. And uh I used to do that way, way too much. Oh, and when COVID hit and school was no longer there, do you know how many episodes of anime you can watch in an entire day? Depending on the anime series, because some series, surprisingly enough, only have episodes that are like a few minutes long, like 5 minutes long. You can go through those so fast. But that aside, man, I used to. Anyway, I've gotten back into books. It used to be that I used to just read books, and I'd go through like several books a month, right? So I finished the entirety of the Harry Potter series in like a month. And that's for those of you who don't know. If I recall correctly, it's 7 books and several hundred pages per book. So that's a lot of reading. I'm really happy I got into reading. I gotta thank my grandma for that one. She taught me how to read, and I'm actually using the method which she taught me how to read to learn Japanese. So it's a fun it's a fun tie back into stuff. And I was in one of those families that like wouldn't let you watch a ton of TV or play video games. So we ended up just having like our big yard to play in or books. So I went through so many different books, and my sister has two. My younger sister, yes, I have a younger sister. It's great, but my younger sister has gone through and reads a lot of books, but she tends to reread stuff. So if she enjoys a series, she'll read it a second time and a third time. She's probably listened because she has dyslexia, so it's hard for her to actually read a book. But she's probably listened to the first book of Harry Potter 50 plus times. And that was because that was the only book of Harry Potter she had access to. So she just did it over and over and over again. I can almost never get through a series a second time. I struggle to reconsume content. So so I go through and I'll like read something and I'll enjoy it and all the stuff, and then I'll just move on to the next piece. So there's some interesting pieces about that. So she'll rewatch TV series and whatnot. I struggle really hard to find something that I enjoy enough to rewatch. I have 3 anime series that I've actually enjoyed enough to rewatch. And it was No Game No Life. You can sue me for that one. Fair enough. It was the first anime that I legitimately got into, so it was actually the gateway anime that I had. My cousin introduced it to me for the humanity speech in, I believe it's episode 3. So it is a raunchy anime for every kind of fan service you would assume an anime to have. But there's some fun intellectual undertones to it, and I really enjoy it. So that was that, but that's more of a not necessarily for the quality. I do think it stands up pretty well, definitely in my top like 20 anime, probably from some bias, but it definitely stands up really well. If I'm being more objective, it easily falls in the top 50 anime, but you know, the other two are Arcane, which I don't technically call. It's like not technically an anime. It's like an animated series. I don't actually put it in the category of anime, but it's animated, and it was the gateway drug for me to get my family into actual anime, which is fun. And then Freerun Beyond Journey's End. I've rewatched that one. And then there's some that I've rewatched with other people, but I don't really count that because it's not I've rewatched this on my own time. So, I mean, there's other ones that are good that I just haven't cared to rewatch that I probably will get back to. Like Full Metal Alchemist is a good one. That Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, I suppose I should specify. But I'm just rambling about the different things that I've watched. I've gotten off topic. I used to consume books a ridiculous amount. It was to the point where I would get in trouble for reading. Now, you wouldn't expect this from parents who strive to get their kids off of the internet and whatnot to actually like consume content, to actually develop their capacity for doing things. But I I used to get in trouble for reading. I would read so much that I would legitimately get in trouble. I used to hide in the bathroom and sit in the bathtub. I'd take like a blanket and a pillow, and the tub is dry and whatnot, and I'd take the pillow and I'd put it behind my back, and I'd like wrap myself in a blanket, and I'd sit in the tub and I'd read, because people don't get mad at you when you're sitting in the bathroom, especially if it's late at night and no one's using it. They just assume someone's using the bathroom and they don't care too much. But at some point, I got caught. I don't remember. I can't. I don't know exactly how I got caught, and I think that's intentional. I don't think that my parents. I'm the kind of kid who, if you tell me how I got caught, I'll just fix the thing that got me caught and not stop doing the thing. So so they intentionally didn't let me know. I assume that what happened was one of my siblings had to use the bathroom enough times and use the other bathroom enough times that they complained to my parents, and then my parents knew to be on alert for it. So when my mom came in to check on me to see if I was actually asleep or not, saw that I wasn't in my bed, she came through and caught me. And so I got banned from being able to do that. So I found out that there's a light switch in one of the closets in the house. So there's a light in one of the closets in the house, and this one happened to be in my room. I shared a room with my brother, but that's besides the point. I would go through and I would take a blanket and a pillow, and I would turn on the light, and I'd stay up until like 5 a.m. reading books. Books were my social media. It was to the point where, to threaten me to actually, like the punishment kind of thing, where it's like, hey, if you do this, you get your phone taken away, kind of thing, right? Mine was, hey, if you do this, I'm taking away your books. And it's like, no, not the books, not the books. Right? They could be like, hey, I'm taking away the phone, because I had some phone access and some electronic access, but I didn't have my own phone. I think I got my own phone sometime around when I was 16, and that's when I actually got my phone. But uh I used to read a lot. So that particular addiction is thanks to my grandma, and it's great. I think a library is technically like a is it 100 or 1,000 books? Let me check that real quick. I'll be right back. Yeah. So a library is 1,000 books is like the lower threshold for a small library, and I'm pretty sure that I lived in a house that had about half of that, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I never actually went through and counted all of them, but I have a good chunk of books here. I'm probably somewhere like I so I'm the kind of person who learns about books and tries really 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 hard not to buy them. If I go through and I learn about a book series and I really enjoy it, there's a high chance that I'll end up buying it. And I try really hard not to do that. So most of the books that I'll go out and I'll buy are things that I find in passing in Goodwill. And those tend to be college textbooks. So I probably have something like 7 to 10 college textbooks just in my room that cost maybe $50 altogether. So that's always fun. But uh I have a ridiculous amount of books and I love reading. I'm not quite sure how I got here, but onward the conversation goes. So I used to, back to the anime thing. I used to consume a ridiculous amount of anime. And I to actually enjoy it, I have a ridiculously high threshold for being able to actually enjoy the anime. And I can identify exactly why I enjoy it, right? So there was this release sometime last year, I think. It was Eminence in Shadow. Now, this is an anime that isn't a classic type of anime. Yes, I'm just going full nerd on you guys right now. It's not the classic kind of anime that I normally would enjoy. I have like popcorn content, and then I have like actual like savory content. And the popcorn content is a brand of anime called isekai, which translates to another world. Basically what it is you somehow go from living in this world to living in another world, whether that's you get transported by a magic circle or you die and get reincarnated. That's usually the classic one, XYZ. So there's a few different ways you can do it. If you're sorry, I lost it. That's the popcorn content that I tend to enjoy. It's like the fast food, whatnot. And I enjoy it almost purely because they tend to have some sort of fun world building gimmick, and the world building gimmicks are absolutely delightful, and I like to steal some different ideas and use them for D&D. But in Eminence and Shadow, it was almost I love anime that knows exactly what they're doing. So with Frieren, they know exactly what they're doing. Their vibe is like 100% locked down. It is beautifully done. Right? When you look at something like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, they have a really solid storytelling, and they know what they're doing, right? So anime that knows what they are and knows what they're doing and then plays into it, the more they do that, the more I enjoy them. That's why I really enjoyed Arcane Season 1 and was kind of meh about Arcane Season 2. It wasn't bad, but it didn't meet my quality check. So I again, my standards are ridiculously high. But Eminence and Shadow didn't meet my quality check. But it knew exactly what it was, which was 100% like 13-year-old teenage edgelord content. Right? It's like cater to this specific demographic all the way, 100%, and it was beautifully done. There's a few other things that you can point at that are really funny, but like part of it would be it feels like you have two different stories. It's the person who's, you know how most series have like A plots and B plots, right? And this one also does. But there's like a underlying A plot, B plot where it's main character versus everyone who's living in the world. Because the main character doesn't treat it like a world. He treats it like, like the thing to live out all of his fantasies out of, right? And his fantasy is like to be the biggest, strongest personist ever, like the darkest of dark knights kind of thing. Which is really funny to watch. And then you have the world, which treats him like an actual person in the world, and they actually interact with themselves like like you would expect a world to react to things like this. The reason I really enjoyed it, or at least, well, the reason I really enjoyed it is because they took like Dark Knight Edgelord kind of thing and cranked it from like a 9 to a 13, just full guns blazing all the way ahead, and I loved it. But then there's this underlying subtext that I really enjoyed too, because it reminded me of my D&D worlds, where it's everyone reacts to this crazy character who's not taking the world seriously with a total straight face. It was beautifully done, and I loved it. Anyway, I let's see if I can backtrack and figure out where I was going with this. Back to Flowers for Algernon, probably that one. Sorry, I listened to it, and so it's a little hard to. I prefer reading books, but I'll end up listening to them because it gives me a wider access of availability as well as allows me to do things while listening to it. But when I have the chance and when I have the ability, I really, really enjoy reading books way more. That aside, I really enjoyed this book. I think it was really solid. It makes me sad that books like this are no longer accepted at schools because it doesn't like fit with the general vibe that the schools are going for. And it's like, okay, fair enough. It doesn't fit with the general vibe that the schools are going for. And most of the time I would agree with that. But there's a type of content that just makes you think. And it forces you to look at the world in a very unique perspective and highly satirical, highly satirical content tends to do some pieces like that. And I don't think that Flowers for Algernon is a satirical piece, but you'll get pieces like that where it's we're going to take your concept of how the world works and it's going to be the same world and it's going to be looked at through the perspective of someone else, and it's going to be portrayed in such a way that you really can both sympathize with these characters and have some sort of disconnect at where the book is really pointing uh out the differences and the unfairness of the world. Uh so that was really enjoyable to stumble across. And I came across that through a single joke that was a bit in a in a YouTube series of an anime that I watched several years ago. Yeah, I watched it was a YouTube series that was both making fun of and improving an anime I watched several years ago. And totally worth the rabbit hole diving into. Gives me an idea for some content of like, what if I consume every pop culture reference that they make in that series? And I would totally do that. But there's a ridiculous amount of time frame that it would do. So it might just be like start with episode 1, you know? how do you how do you eat an elephant sandwich? And it would be you invite all of your friends to partake it with you, but outsource it. Uh, that aside, it was a good book. If you're thinking of something that'll really get your gears cranking on it would be like human interaction, emotional involvement, and the effects on those from an increased ability to learn and perceive the world around you, and a heightened ability to interact with that to the extent where you outpace the people around you, and then get dragged back down. That's a little bit that does spoil just a little bit, but it's almost, I think it's something like 70 years old. So I know that my dad read it when he was in high school. But that aside, there's some it's good. It's if you have some time to end up listening to it at some point or whatnot, and you just have some interest in that kind of thing, uh, be careful about it. It's one of those books that make you think, and thinking can be dangerous. So, yeah.